Hello, and welcome to another episode of My Brain Está Spicy, the podcast where two overthinking, sometimes anxiety-ridden friends spill on their highs and lows and the craziness of navigating mental health in our daily lives.
We are your hosts, Melisa and Christy. I'm Christy. She's Melissa. And as always, we are going to be talking about the beautiful chaos of life with spicy brains and inject this safe space with as much humor and our unique sazon as we can. So get yourself comfortable, grab your favorite drink or three, because it's sure to be a super fun time.
And just so we're clear, everybody, we are not medical professionals. The views and opinions that we are going to share on our show are for informational and entertainment purposes only. We are not doctors, lawyers, or financial advisors. If you need expert advice in any way, shape, or form, please seek out the proper qualified professionals.
Seriously, go to therapy.
And with that, here we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of My Brain Está Spicy. Christy and I are back with you again.
Hello.
And we're picking up on the identity series again. It's not something that we planned on doing as a series, but a lot of you really resonated with the last episode on identity as Latinas and Latinos, just people basically thinking a lot about how they identify with not only who they are, but kind of how they were brought up and their own culture. And we got a request from Maria R. to expand on the idea and tackle it from the perspective of imposter syndrome.
Dun, dun, dun.
Now, for those that may not know or don't think they have a real definition of what imposter syndrome is, for one, it's not a mental illness, FYI, folks.
Mm-hmm.
And two, it's pretty much just a general term that's applied to individuals feeling like they don't have the necessary level of intelligence or achievement in certain life situations. And I found a really great article as I was preparing for today's episode from verywellmind.com, and they reference Dr. Valerie Young, who's an expert on imposter syndrome and actually is the co-founder of the Imposter Syndrome Institute. And she breaks down her research into discussing that imposter syndrome basically presents itself in 5 different ways. And I'm just going to briefly read a little blip on each of the 5, just so that everybody can kind of call them to mind and keep them in the back of their head as we have our conversation today, to just kind of keep in mind, how has imposter syndrome popped up in your life? What are the different versions of imposter syndrome that have affected you? And kind of think about, what have you done to get over them? And then Christy and I will chat a little bit about kind of what our experiences have been, both recently and just like in life in general with imposter syndrome. And then how we've navigated it with our mental health and our anxiety. So with that, the 5 different types are the perfectionist, the expert, the natural genius, the soloist, and the super person. So the perfectionist is pretty self-explanatory. This is the type of imposter syndrome that involves believing that unless you are absolutely perfect, that what you did or how you are could have been better. Probably one of the most common.
So there's a picture of me next to this, right? Like my picture is right there.
Right next to it. I was going to say, I think pretty much everybody kind of relates to the perfectionist concept pretty similarly. The next one is the expert. The expert feels like an imposter because they don't know everything there is to know about any particular subject or a topic, or they haven't mastered every step in the process. So kind of similar, but a little different. The next one is the natural genius. This imposter syndrome type, you might feel like a fraud simply because you don't believe that you're naturally intelligent or competent. I can see this absolutely popping up for people that are in the arts, for sure. That's how, literally, that's how my brain instantly correlated it.
Like the talent.
next one is Exactly. The next one is the soloist. And this is also possible to feel like an imposter if you've had to ask for help once you've reached a certain level or status. It can make you feel like an imposter because all of a sudden you're having to ask for help to figure something out because you don't feel like you have that competency.
Uh-huh.
And then the last one is the super person. So the super person is the type of imposter syndrome involves believing that you have to be the hardest worker or reach the highest levels of achievement possible. If not, you're a fraud.
So I have a question for you. Is
Sure.
there a sixth secret type where you are all of them? Just asking for a friend.
Right? Well, if anything, I think you're asking if it's like you're all of them. I think it calls into how at any given stage you could feel imposter syndrome in one way, shape, or
Mhm.
form. And I think it's really interesting how they're all a tiny bit different, but they're all still related to like that feeling of inadequacy
Yep.
or just not being the right amount of anything. And that can correlate to anything. That can correlate to your cultural identity, that can correlate to your academic level, your professional level. Hell, even how are you matching up for those of you that are parents that listen to the podcast? How are you matching up as a mom or a dad compared to other people that you know, be it in your family or people that you see out that are, that are friends and how you measure yourself up against how they're achieving things.
Mhm.
So on that note, Chrissy and I both took some time over the last week to kind of think about how it correlates to each one of us. Um, for me, funny enough, I actually had an interview today,
Yay! Yay!
uh, of which A, really, really hoping it moves forward. Uh, but B, on the topic of, what we're talking about today, it was actually really eye-opening for me because for the first time, not only in applying for the position, but also in interviewing today, I kind of had a little bit of like an out of body experience as I was listening to myself in my interview.
Mhm.
I realized how far I've come
Aw.
from when I was laid off 6 months ago to where I am now because of not only different things that like I've taken steps to do to just develop myself, but also because of things like starting our podcast and starting my job search community. I've grown in areas that previously would have freaked me the hell out, and I was fully expecting to have imposter syndrome going into this interview, and I actually didn't feel that for the first time. Um, I genuinely felt like just a good, solid confidence in the skills that I brought,
Mhm.
but also I realized how much I've developed certain skill sets that this job specifically calls for. So it's a virtual operations project manager position
Mm.
for like a really, really young startup. Like
Ooh.
they haven't even gotten funding. They're in research and development kind of stage. And it's really exciting. It's in an industry that I'm really passionate about. It's being run by a ridiculously intelligent and like strong female founder. And the role forces me to kind of call on all of my skills,
Mm.
but at like an elevated level.
Mhm.
And I kind of have my hands in everything, almost like a really, really powerful executive virtual assistant,
Mm.
but with a layer of strategy and planning, which is why it's still a project management role. Um, and as I was telling my husband earlier how the interview had gone, one of the things I noticed at one point as I was answering one of her questions, because she talked about how we really need someone that's going to be comfortable with adapting and jumping around and not someone that like really needs like really rigid structured walls. Like this is my lane and I have to stay
Right.
here. And that was kind of when I had that out of body experience
Mm.
because I instantly jumped in with an answer that just 6 months ago, I would not have been able to answer.
Mm.
6 months ago, when I left my last job, I was adamant. I have to go back to corporate.
Right.
I want structure. I want rules. I want someone to just tell me what I got to do,
Mhm.
let me do it, and that's it.
Mhm.
But because of everything that I've been doing over the last 6 months, that was not my first thought. I was actually excited about the opportunity of not having rules and kind of being able to set stuff up for my own. And I wouldn't have been able to do that without everything that we've been working on. So my take on imposter syndrome for the first time was very, very different
I love
in
that.
recent experience.
I love that. That's such a great thing to hear. Like that's
Thank
awesome.
you.
And yeah, that's absolutely amazing. I had I guess a somewhat similar experience a little bit. So, oh,
Okay.
wait, were you done with your part already?
Yeah, no,
Okay.
no, I'm good. That all yours, girl.
So, I was contacted by a recruiter, like an external recruiter, regarding a
Mm.
position.
Okay. Tell me more.
I won't say what the position is, but it's in an industry. It's within the banking industry, which already I was like, I don't think I'm going to say yes to this. Um, it, I mean, it's a good opportunity. Um, and when they approach you, obviously you have the upper
Mhm.
hand, especially if you're already employed, because you're kind of like, well, I'm in what I'm in, unless you're in like a very, I don't know, like toxic type of position, or you know you're about to be laid off, like you kind of just have the upper hand because you could say no and no danger is really going to come from it. And I thought, like, even if I have a feeling I'm probably going to say no, I still want to build this relationship with this person
Mhm.
because this is an external recruiter and we work on other positions,
Yeah, so you never know.
obviously. Um, exactly. So I was like, whatever, can't hurt to take the call. So, I took the call with her, and kind of similarly, while I was kind of like explaining my experience and what I do and all the things I'm responsible for and what I want to do in a future type of role. Mm. I also felt kind of like an out of body experience. And I think maybe part of it is because of this podcast, like, which I did not expect.
Ah, yay!
um, or at least like being more, uh, I don't know, being more confident in my own voice, right?
Mhm.
But also knowing that I have the upper hand helps. Um, in the end, I was, whatever. I had that call with the person. I was like, thank you. Afterwards, they were like, we loved you. The hiring manager wants to talk to you. Here's their availability. And I was like, I really, I don't like saying no a ton.
Okay.
And I also like kind of started freaking myself out because I was like, I've been saying that I want a new opportunity for so long, and here comes one, and what? I'm just gonna be like, no, thanks, ew. Like, but also, like,
No thanks, ew. Those exact words.
like, I have valid concerns. Right now, it's April 2025, and the economy is not great.
Mhm.
And going into an industry like banking when we're probably about to go into a recession, uh, not not the best idea. And it's not a national bank. It's a regional one,
Okay.
and it's very Latam. Whatever. There's a lot of there were things about it that my gut was like, "No, like, this is not what you
Mhm.
want." Like, the position itself is maybe what I want, like, what I would be doing, but I'd be reporting into a man who reports into a man in an industry that I know I don't like.
Okay.
Um, and I just kind of felt like where I would have felt imposter syndrome, I didn't really, which was interesting. But then, so I said initially, like, I wrote back to her. I was like, hey, I don't think I'm feeling it. I really appreciate building the relationship with you. She was like, let's chat again. And she basically tried to like sell it to me again. which is lovely when, you know, they're like super excited about your background and all the things.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, you're just trying to get the retainer, but anyway, like just trying to get the paycheck. But I get it, girl, like work, it's fine. Um, and that's when my imposter syndrome started to come in because I started kind of questioning my gut. And now I've realized that. But in the moment, you know, if a good salesperson is good at what they do,
Oh, yeah, they get you to sign up for anything.
so I don't know, it was a scenario where I would have had more imposter syndrome usually,
Mhm.
but there's something about finding your own voice, um, especially for me over the past however many episodes this is. This is like our
This is
what,
episode
ninth,
9.
eighth, 9, yeah. Um, it's helped me, I think, to communicate better or like organize my thoughts in a
Mhm.
better way. Something about my throat chakra. That's what it feels like.
No, I
That makes
totally,
sense.
like, I'm vibing with everything that you've mentioned. I'm also feeling
I don't know.
almost like a proud big sister, even though we're obviously the same exact age,
Stop. I mean, you're like 8 months older.
because when we first started recording, I told you that. Like, I mentioned to you after, I think it was after we did episode 3 when we did the first episode
Oh,
of the
yeah.
job search, and you and I were, like, off recording, and we even said, "Shit, we should have kept recording because this is good stuff." I remember mentioning to you, "I think this podcast is gonna be really good for you."
Yeah, I remember that.
'Cause I think it's gonna give you that opportunity to just kinda get a lot of that anger and just whatever you
Yeah.
feel is kinda, like, holding you back, it's gonna
Yeah.
let you get
Yeah,
it
and
out
I
of your
I think that's
system.
I think that's true in some weird, cool way. But that being said, I'm glad that we both have had positive experiences, but I've definitely had negative experiences in the past. Um, I do often. I think for me, imposter syndrome happens a lot more when I'm in, which makes sense, when I'm in a situation where I'm not the expert or I'm not comfortable. So, like, I don't feel safe in some way. So, to harken it
Okay.
back to our Latina episode, if I'm in an environment with Spanish speakers who are pure Spanish speakers, I am like, I'm not Cuban at all. I have
Mhm.
0% Cuban. Like that's how I feel. I'm like, I'm a fucking fraud. Like, my ancestors are mad at me for not being able to speak the language better. Like that's how it feels. That is like a very easy example, like off the top of my head, of imposter syndrome, in a negative light. But what about you?
Yeah. So there's 2 for me. Pretty similar to what you mentioned. I had said it
Yeah.
in our Latina Enough episode. In the beginning of my relationship with my husband, whenever I would be around his family, like sometimes I would feel very uncomfortable, like when I would speak Spanish
Right.
because I don't speak it that often. Or back then I didn't speak it as often. Um, Now that we've been together for quite a few years. Now we're married. Um, it's come a long way, and I try to
Mm,
force myself to use it more, so I feel more comfortable in it, slash, I just learned to own my voice where I'm like, "Hey, it's not perfect, but at least I'm trying,"
yeah.
so I don't feel as uncomfortable. But the best example, and I can literally close my eyes, remember where we were, what we were doing. I even remember the exact song. So it was when we first joined
Mm-hmm.
singing
Mm-hmm.
when we were in high school. It's the best example of imposter syndrome that I can imagine. When we were practicing for the New York show, because remember, we went to Carnegie Hall the first year,
Mm,
right? And we were doing the
mm-hmm.
summer practices. So I remember you told me you were in Lord Singers from the beginning. I started in women's chorus and then moved up to Lord Singers.
No, no.
No? So we were both women's chorus?
No, no, I was Lord Singers from the beginning, but I started junior year.
Okay.
So sophomore year I wasn't in
Oh,
singing.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I did it. So then wait, did you go to Carney with us?
I didn't. I didn't even go to Music Fest
You
because I
didn't.
had a dance recital. So, yeah, I didn't do
Ah, okay.
either.
Well,
I know, I know, I know,
I'll
I know.
I still remember the experience either way. I mean, and it still correlates, and I know you'll still understand like
Yeah,
what
yeah,
it
yeah,
can
yeah, yeah.
feel like. So,
Yes,
imagine we
yes.
haven't even started school for the semester or for the school year.
Mm,
It was summer practices, and so everybody had been learning the music on their own at
oh,
home, and then we came together
no.
for like the first practice, and
Yeah.
I remember she was doing the section for the altos for the Ave Maria
No, I know where
movement.
this is going. I do.
Funny enough, no, actually not yet.
Because I can't read music. I can't read music, so I understand.
Yeah, so I can't read music, but I pick up music really well with the
Same.
ear,
Same.
right? And I was in alto too,
Mm.
but the music was at almost like a bass level.
Oh,
Um, and no one was really hitting it correctly.
oh
So she
shit.
kept honing in on like the alto 2 section, like trying to see who was singing it correctly.
Mm.
And we sang the part, and she goes, "Who sang that?" And she turns, and I raised my hand. She goes, "That, that's exactly what it should sound like." And I was like, I was expecting to get yelled at. I got praised, but I still felt really uncomfortable because I was surrounded by a bunch of seniors. And I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool. Okay, cool. Thank you."
Oh my god. I feel like we could do a whole episode on
Oh,
imposter syndrome within Lord Singers years 2002 to 2004. Like
right?
it I that I felt so same or not same, but I joined Lord Singers in junior year, which already I was a year late
Mhm.
in terms of like when people usually join the choir. They usually join sophomore
Yeah.
year. I already had prior commitments in my life.
Well, audition freshman year. Yeah, you auditioned freshman year and then you started sophomore year. But yes.
Right. I had other things in my life happening outside of school things.
Mm.
So I was singing was like, oh, I should probably go for that because I love singing and I should be in something in school. So sure. And when I got in like started class, I was fucking terrified. The imposter syndrome, like I know I can sing,
Hardcore.
but I can't read music. Like I know it goes up and down and a little more up and a little more down, but I can't I have a really good ear. I can teach myself like how to play piano. I can teach myself a song if you give me enough time. But
Yeah.
I can't read music. I can't sing a C just like out of the blue. Like I can't. I still can't even after all the trauma of being in Lord Singers. Like it was actually really our teacher was very intense.
Good at what she did, but very intense.
Very, very good. I mean, she made us perfect and we would win competitions. I got to go sing an opera in France. Like that's insane. I sang in Notre Dame, which was fucking ridiculous. Like
Yeah,
I
I
can't
still can't wrap my head
describe
around the
that
fact that we
feeling.
did that.
Like my parents have grainy ass video from it from obviously 2004 on their
My
little
mom still
camcorder.
has the CD.
It's it's so yeah, it's so like it's like it's almost black and white from how bad the color gradation is or whatever. But like that moment of like hearing our voices echo off of the walls of Notre Dame, I was barely making any sound because I was just like trying not to cry. And I think everybody else felt that way too, probably. Like we're all just like, what the fuck are we actually doing here? Like this is
Doing.
insanity. But anyway,
For me, from that same trip, I had that experience when we sang in front of the chapel at Lourdes. All of a sudden, I don't know
oh,
how the hell Wiki pulled this off, but she got us to act as the choir that sang
Yeah.
on the steps of the chapel while people were doing the procession for the rosary leading up to the front of the chapel. I'm like, how the fuck because that was not planned.
Yeah.
None
Yeah.
of us
Yeah.
knew that
I
that was
remember.
coming.
I
And
remember
then all of
that.
a sudden she like sprung it on us and she's like, okay, we're going to sing this song, this song, this song, and this song. Everybody knows the words? Okay,
And we did
great,
it.
go. And we did it.
And we did it.
So I kind of had that same experience, but it's
Good.
funny how
Insane.
like the different types of imposter syndrome kind of come
Yeah.
in
Oh, yeah.
depending on different
Oh, yeah.
situations. But
Yep.
I find it very interesting that the perfectionist mindset one is the one that's kind of like the repetitive pattern for both of us, not just from like creative aspects or even within like the work aspect, but even correlating it back to why we were asked to do this episode to like our Latina identities and the essence of what it means to be Latina. That concept of perfectionism is rampant in our culture. Rampant. And especially depending on either A, if you're the only girl, or B, if you're the oldest, or in my case, the youngest, but you're the one that kind of always has your shit together. It's like you always have to be on and on your game and perfect at what you're doing because you're made in a way to be an example. And in my case, right? And in my case, for me, there's like the additional layer, which is something that I've always battled with my life because of my disability. This idea of the resiliency phenomenon, I guess you could say, as a high functioning disabled individual that aside from my walking disability, everything else about me is fine, right? But because I've had to overcome so much, there's this air of
I don't know, you're kind of weird. You're a little weird, you know? Kidding. You're my friend, so you're automatically weird.
Oh, yeah, I'm automatically weird. No, I get that. Trust me, we're on the same wavelength.
Go ahead.
I get it. But yeah, like it's like I have to do everything that I can do. I've got to do it at like such a high level, which
100.
unfortunately has like that adverse effect, especially in my professional life. It's something that I struggled with my entire career because accountability is such a high characteristic for me. Like,
same.
Because I am held to such a high accountability standard. I hold myself to such a high accountability standard. When I see that accountability is not held at the same level for other people around me, I basically melt down, like internally,
Same.
sometimes externally if I'm burnt out enough. Which for the job that I interviewed for, funny enough, the founder, as I was interviewing with her, she brought that up herself. She's like, I need someone that's going to get what they need to get done, that is going to hold themselves accountable to what they need to do, but is also going to hold all of us accountable to what we need to do. Like if we have a report that's due in 6 months, they're going to check in with us and make sure, hey, we're 60 days out. How's everybody doing with their sections? And, where are we? And if we set a date and somebody misses it, can follow up with them. And she literally said, she goes, accountability is huge for me. And I interrupted her sentence and I'm like, I cannot tell you how happy you have just made my heart. Like my soul is singing right now. I go, because accountability is a really big word for me. But that can oftentimes fight with that concept of imposter syndrome because we always feel in a way like we're being held or we put ourselves against a certain standard. And if we ourselves don't meet it, it's like, oh, forget it. Like, failure. I don't even want to do it. Exactly. So I think for you and me, doing this podcast has helped with that concept because we really come into this just kind of showing up exactly how we are. And sometimes the episodes kind of go in all different directions.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. How they're still good in what they are, right?
Yeah. We have no idea what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're glad you're here. I don't know.
And it's taught us to like get comfortable with just kind of learning along the way. And I'm really enjoying that experience. And I've never been the type of person to enjoy that type of experience. It's like I just want to know it, and I want to know it right now. And if it's not perfect,
I'm the same.
Exactly. And if I don't know it perfectly and it doesn't sound great, like I'm not going to do it. And I've had to really embrace the concept of it's going to be what it needs to be right now. And where we are today is not where we're going to be a year from now. Like, I can't wait for our 1-year anniversary to like do a listen back right before we record to our first episode to talk about like where we've been in just a year and see the difference. Because in just 60 days, I've seen the difference in where we are from our first episode to just episode 9. Like, it's totally different.
I agree. I agree with everything you just said. I was telling you earlier, before we started even talking and having this call, I was like, let me do some like light interwebs searching on like imposter syndrome and just like fun facts I may not know. And I found this article from Harvard Business Review talking about the concept of imposter syndrome and how it needs to be reconceptualized, specifically for people of color, which is interesting.
Okay.
It's so the article first it stated apparently imposter syndrome became a thing in like the 70s when there was this study done of only white females, which is not something you hear every, but only white females who expressed like the feelings of imposter syndrome, whether it's academically or, you know, like basically that they have all these degrees because they were all like college or, you know, post-grad. They have all these degrees and all this knowledge, but they feel like they're not good enough or, you know, knowledgeable enough to speak up, that kind of thing. So the author of this article basically goes on to say that imposter syndrome should be looked at specifically for people of color, but I think for and you'll see where I'm going in a second, like to consider it not just as our internal, not just as a result of our internal like biases or personality or judgments, but as a result of the systemic, for people of color, racism, and for women, misogyny that we are exposed to. And then I thought about that from the Latina perspective of we are raised, it's evolved, but it's a very patriarchal culture. The Latin culture, Hispanic culture, it's still very patriarchal. When you're a girl, you're expected to handle it all and not say much. You're expected to be pleasant. And I think this is true across a lot of cultures because silencing women is it's just common across the globe because we are too powerful. I truly believe that actually. But
Oh yeah, it's rooted in the fear that because centuries upon centuries upon centuries upon centuries, thousands of years ago, too many women started to actually be good at XYZ, and men were losing their power, and you know,
poor men.
Exactly. But anyways, continue.
So looking at it, I thought it was an interesting concept to look at it from a more systemic perspective, because it's really easy for us, right, to sit here and say, I am the one that expects all these things of myself. And we do recognize that it was taught to us, right? Like externally, the idea came to us, but we mostly blame ourselves because it's happening in our own minds, right? But there's larger environmental systemic issues that have made it so that we're kind of ignoring the external
Factors.
issues external variables that have come to create this. It's sort of like, I don't know. I can't think of a good metaphor right now, but um, it's basically, it's more than one thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's not, I don't think it's all your fault if you're sitting there saying, God, I suck at this, or I'm not going to speak up in this meeting because I don't have anything to contribute. There are so many reasons why you think that of yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's just, I guess my point is looking at it from a
Faceted.
functional, like, yes, perspective, like looking at it from different angles, of you are the results of, and we said this during the Latina episode, you are the results of so much that has happened to you over your life and your environment and how you grew up and what happened to you and what didn't happen to you and the trauma and the lack of trauma and all the experiences. And each of those experiences, like, gives us a bias of some kind, either good, bad, neutral, I don't know. But I think it feeds into that imposter syndrome. Like me having I've had to learn or unlearn that my emotions, especially when talking about topics that I'm passionate
Mm-hmm.
about, I get louder, vocally, I get red. And I've had people call me out on that while I'm speaking. People I work with, not people who are related to me. Like, oh, she's getting all red. She's so passionate about this. How? Excuse me? Like, first of all, you just interrupted me.
Yeah, like it's like they're trying to demeaning tone to it.
Like that, yeah, they're trying. It's exactly like, that was a horrible. I remember that day. I wanted to sink into my seat because I was expressing something that I was very passionate about. And I was, whatever. And I'll tell you the whole story later outside of this episode. But that example just came to my mind because I like how dangerous of a thing to do.
And it's so much worse whenever it's a boss.
But for me, I'm insecure about the fact that, like, I have rosacea and my face gets red.
Anything. Yeah.
Like, I feel anything and I'm like, red. I work out and I look like a tomato. Like, and I'm comfortable with it, but I know when I'm in like situations like that, I can't control it. And it pisses me off a little bit, but for you to like call me out on it, like, don't do that. That's fucked up. And that's what causes situations like that, cause people to take on that judgment that they receive from someone else and then create this like little voice. It's an extra little voice in your head that's like, how are you feeling? Are you getting too emotional? You're gonna get red. You're getting red. Are you getting red? Like,
No,
whenever I'm talking to anyone about anything that I'm passionate
No,
about.
I totally understand what you're saying. And funny enough, that was one of the questions that I was going to bring up for us to talk about with regards to like, how does imposter syndrome affect our mental health? Especially like when we begin to doubt ourselves, or in this case, you bring up a valid point where it's you weren't doubting yourself until someone said something, right? And how we realize what that emotional toll is.
And that's actually usually been the case. For me, it's been other people. For me personally, it's been other people telling me to quiet down, to either, different people in my life who have said like, you're too emotional. You're too sensitive. I feel like I have to walk on eggshells around you because you're just too
God,
much.
I hate when people say that.
And to that, I say, oh, fuck you.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, I'm not too much. You're too little. You're not enough. Like, you are uncomfortable by my show of emotion. And you should question yourself about why that is, because emotion is a part of the human experience.
Exactly. It's not me that's making you uncomfortable.
You obviously have issues with seeing emotion and probably with expressing it in the first place. But anyway,
Mhm.
whatever. What
No,
about
you're
you?
so right. You're so right. So, I'll touch on the societal and environmental factors first.
Yeah.
Um, I think you nailed it, and it's funny, I hadn't thought of it from that perspective,
Right?
but it is so
It's
true.
really
So the
interesting.
first one that jumped into my brain, it's the idea that a lot of, in this case, um, African American men fall into the trap of you're only good for athletics, and
Mm,
that's the only thing that's gonna get you out, and
mm,
paying attention to academics and uplifting yourself that way isn't gonna get you anywhere. It's not gonna get your family out of whatever situation it's in, and the only thing that you and your body are good for is for sports and entertainment.
mm.
Um, and that came from an article I was reading the other day. I wish I could remember it. Um, but the lady that wrote the article, it basically stemmed from the notion of, for as far as society has come, the fact that Black individuals and people of color at any level, but specifically Black individuals that use their voice, right?
Mm,
Use their platforms to uplift, to call out inequities, to call out all the different issues that are going on, right? And people
mhm,
will turn around and tell them, shut up, you know, just go back to playing
mm.
basketball or football or whatever sport it is that they're good at, or rapping, whatever the case it is, right?
Yeah.
And it just kind of calls into that imagery of, you know, Black and brown bodies are only there for somebody else's usage
Mm,
and
mhm,
exploitation, right?
mhm.
Um, And I didn't realize in reading that how it would tie into what you found, and
Ah.
it puts a spin on what that author was saying in her statement,
Mm.
um, about how that's internalized, and it's internalized generation upon
Oh,
generation,
yeah.
and how that feeds into imposter syndrome.
Oh, yeah.
Um, I mean, that's like, I'm kinda sitting here and I'm thinking about it, I'm like, "Holy shit, I actually put 2 and 2 together in that sense," and I'm like, "Damn, like, that's
That's
pretty deep," but it's
yeah.
true.
That's a good connection. And, when you were saying this, kind of the criticism, right, of when people of color raise their voice, especially, I think of, like, the Kaepernick kneeling thing. I mean,
Oh, dude.
that was
Yes.
unnecessarily a big deal. Uh, I
He made a quiet stance.
and as he's allowed to, like, everybody whatever. Anyway, I'm not gonna get into it, but, uh, I also think of the whole, like, angry Black woman stereotype. I think it's, like, kind of
And
a
in our case,
this
the
the
angry
same
Latina.
the angry Latin well, no, the psycho Latina. We're psycho. The Black women,
That's true.
they're
We're psycho.
angry. We're
Yeah.
psycho. We're insane. Like, and I get it, 'cause we're a lot unless you know what we're like, because we express and we but I fuck you. Like, I'm not psychotic.
Yeah, it's
Um,
not that we're crazy, it's not that, like, we're off our rockers, it's we take in so much,
we do.
and this is bleeding into another episode that Christy really wants to explore, and I really can't wait till we do it, which is like the secret loss of like feminine rage, right? Or the embracing of feminine rage. Um, so L- Latina culture or Latino culture, it's incredibly passionate, like
Mm,
as a culture in and of itself, and really any multicultural
yeah.
along the diaspora is passionate. Anything that's
Uh,
not Anglican, white is multicultural. and has additional life in it. But specifically to our experiences as Latinas, I mean, you nailed it. I remember my last job that I just got laid off from back in October. I remember a situation where our senior PM, who was a quote unquote above us all,
Ew.
the rest of us could mop the floor with
Ew.
her in terms of experience, but whatever. But she was
Ew.
above us. I remember
Unless she's
clear as
like
day,
6
and it
feet
was
tall, she can shut the fuck up. What? Like,
and she
ew.
was a white woman. And she made a
Oh.
comment. I can't remember what the exact words were,
Oh,
but
no.
something was mentioned in a conversation of, because she was trying to give me constructive feedback, right?
Ooh.
And she's telling, and I'm obviously getting worked up, but I'm not at a point where I'm losing my shit. I'm taking it in, right?
Yeah.
And she said something along the lines of, with regards to how I come across too forceful when I'm passionate about something, and how people are uncomfortable, and sometimes I don't always have to speak up. And I give myself kudos back then, because I did stand up for myself, at least in a way. And I go, listen, it's not my fault you feel uncomfortable, or whoever supposedly said something to you feels uncomfortable, because my speaking confidently is not me attacking someone. If you feel uncomfortable, I'm not going to change who I am, because you don't know how to sit in someone giving you feedback. Like, you've given me feedback and I've applied some stuff here and there that made sense. But you're coming to me and you're trying to tell me something about, like, my literal, like, just existence and being. And you expect me to not take that as an insult, and that you're just trying to give me constructive feedback. That's not constructive feedback. Constructive feedback is, give me a literal example of, hey, this, in this moment, this conversation, literally how you said this, I can understand it. But you're giving me a generalized point with a nothing to go off of, and you want me to just sit back and say, okay, thank you. Like, no, like, that's not going to work. And unfortunately, and tying it back into the second half of the question with regards to mental health, like, that starts to eat at people. Like, companies wonder why burnout rates are so high. Shit like that is why burnout rates are so high.
Yes, ma'am.
Why your turnover is, over 35%. And no pizza party or virtual happy hour or off-site meeting is going to fix that. Like, I wish companies would legitimately pay attention to their employee anonymous surveys that they put out. Because if they did, they could actually improve their workplace astronomically.
You'll be
And you wouldn't have the burnout rates the
You'll
way
be
that you do.
surprised, or rather, you wouldn't be surprised at how senior management teams tend to consume the data that comes out of anonymous employee surveys. First of all, employee engagement surveys, pulse surveys, whatever you want to call them, they are useless unless you have a safe environment, an emotionally safe environment. A physically safe environment is a baseline right now. Like, that's the minimum, and you should not reward yourself for that. I'm looking at you, Great Places to Work. That's one of your fucking questions. Is it a physically safe place? If you're in corporate,
like, that's the minimum.
Yeah, that's a bare fucking minimum of a job. Like, yes, you're working on a factory line. That's going to be a issue, but there are OSHA standards in those cases. So that shouldn't even be a
now,
fucking
there's
question.
OSHA standards.
Listen. I'm going to Alaska in a month, and I'm terrified because I'm going to probably go cross the Canadian border and have to come back in. And I don't know if they're going to look at my phone and be like, bitch, you're on a podcast and you said anti-Trump shit. I literally asked my dad about that yesterday. My father is a lawyer. And I was like, hey, Dad. And he voted for Trump in 2016. And I fought him on that a lot. But he didn't this time. And I'm really proud of him. But I asked him that question. I was like, what happens if at the border, at Seattle International Airport or, whatever, cruise, they ask for my phone. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about? They can't. Like you, Fourth Amendment. I'm like, actually, the Fourth Amendment apparently doesn't apply when you're in like a customs border, like an international airport kind of situation, even if you're a U.S. citizen. Now, they can't keep you from entering the country, and I'm sorry this is taking a tangent, but I am really, really pissed about this one. And this was something that Melissa was stressing about last week, traveling just to domestically. Like, I can't.
I was panicking traveling domestically.
I was like, oh, and so he says, what the fuck are you talking about? And I was like, here's this article talking about what you should do, what you should consider about like either cleaning your phone or taking a burner phone, but you have to seed the burner phone and like use it a little bit so it doesn't look sus. And he was like, well, first of all, I didn't know this was happening. Which is weird because he watches CNN a lot, but whatever. It's fine. But he was like, if this is happening for real with U.S. citizens, this is very bad. Like this is a very bad thing. They should not be able to look into your phone. But if they pull you aside to look at your phone, they're not looking to just look at your phone. They're singling you out, and they already have a plan kind of in their
whatever
head.
they have on
like
you.
They're gonna do whatever they're gonna do. So be as cooperative as possible. As a U.S. citizen, again, they can't deny you entry into the country, but they can make your life a living fucking hell. And who knows what they'll be able to do tomorrow.
And you can leave your. At that point, I would just leave like my phone with them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to answer any questions.
Yeah.
Like,
no.
You want my phone? Okay, cool. Keep it. Feel free.
Fun.
Oh, you need to unlock it. No, the fuck I don't. No, the fuck I don't.
That was one of.
I don't have biometrics on there. I don't have facial recognition on there, and I am not required by any means to give you my code. You want to keep my phone? Go ahead. Keep my phone. Have fun trying to unlock it.
Yeah, that was one of the advice.
Give me a receipt so I know how to get it back once you're done with it.
Yeah. So anyway, I don't know how I got there. How did I get there? I don't know. What the fuck was I talking about? Not sure.
I don't know how we got there.
Sorry, I made the leap.
Anyways,
I made the leap into.
It's okay.
Into politics.
We can get ourselves back on track.
Okay.
Okay. So what? I was chatting about like how it plays a toll, like imposter syndrome plays a toll on our mental health.
Yes. Yes.
To kind of round us out, we've talked a lot about how there are the negative implications of imposter syndrome, right? And how it can creep in and cause doubt. So why don't we take a couple minutes and we can talk about how we've coped with it and gotten better to kind of close us out for the episode. And I'll let you start with that.
Sure. So, and this is still a work in progress, by the way, but much like Melissa, I have a very strong sense of accountability within myself and justice. So I kind of use that to give me strength in that if I think I'm fighting for someone else, it's much easier, right? So that helps me when I'm in a room where I'm not necessarily confident or don't think or feel that I am the subject matter expert. I listen to all opinions, but I try to speak up where I really feel passionate or I really feel like I have input. I'm not just speaking up to speak up because I don't think that's valuable, honestly. I mean, if you want to try that to practice, you can, but when something catches your attention and you're in a meeting, if you need to, for me, sometimes like if I'm really passionate about something, I need to kind of like write down what I'm thinking before I like bring it up, because then I'll just kind of explode into like whatever. But anyway, that's for speaking up in meetings. I no longer, or try not to, finish things if it's like close to the end of the day and I'm working on something big and it can wait. Most things can wait. 99% of things can wait until the next morning. It's so much better when you get sleep and you just rest and then look at things with fresh eyes. I used to always make myself finish things before, shutting down for the day or whatever, leaving the office. Not healthy, not good. You're tired. Don't do that. And finally, like, the good enough is good enough. Like, good enough is good enough. I currently work in an environment where perfectionism is the standard. So it's hard, but I've tried to make it so that more comfortable with, I've responded to I don't know how many people with, sorry, I'm human. I have two hands, one brain. I'm just a human. Like, I'm just a human. I'm going to make errors. I'm going to make mistakes. Like, it's okay. It's okay. I say it to other people when they make mistakes. I'm like, you're human, dude. Like, it's all right. It's okay that the spreadsheet wasn't perfect. I promise.
especially
it's okay.
if you're not the type of person to like always make mistakes. So like
Right. No,
not
yes.
be so hard on yourself. So like fight that perfectionism feeling for sure.
Yeah. Those are the ones I can think of the top of my head. But you go now.
So one big one for me is, the saying, you don't know what you don't know.
Ooh,
Right?
yes.
So that for me has really helped me fight back that imposter syndrome of when I might feel like I'm underqualified, especially when it comes to like job searching right now, right? And a classmate of ours actually taught me a trick years ago, and I've never forgotten it. I've actually used it in interviews before when I've been asked, you've got most of what we're looking for, but not everything. Why is it that you still wanted to apply for the job, or why do you think you're a good fit? And I've tailored the answer across the years, but basically it works out to, I look at job descriptions as a checklist. If I check off every single box on your list, that means A, I have no room for growth, and B, I have nothing new to bring you. So I'm going to get bored a lot quicker. And the likelihood is I'm not going to stay there long term. But if I check off anywhere from 60 to 75% of the checklist, that means I have something to learn from you. I have fresh ideas I can bring you, but I've got enough in my toolkit that I can still get the job done, and I'll get better as I go. So that concept of you don't know what you don't know is okay. And that has helped me look at my skills a lot better. I didn't know what the hell we were doing when we started a podcast. I figured it out. I've been figuring it out as we go. Not just I figured it out, but I'm figuring it out as we go. Right? But I had enough confidence in the abilities that I did know. I contain within me to do the research to figure out the basics to get us started and get us going. So that would be one. The second, with regards to just overall preservation of mental health and well-being when it comes to not feeling confident and feeling that imposter syndrome kick in. And this can be across anywhere. And this ties into what you were saying with regards to good enough is good enough. I don't have to do it perfect. I can always get better.
Yeah.
And that's not something that I've always been comfortable with. And I've just started to embrace it as I started my mental health journey a few years ago. That concept has become easier and easier to digest. And it's still something that, I struggle with on a regular basis. But like anything, as you're going through your healing journey, it becomes easier for you to move through the moments. And tying it into our Latina identity, I'll harken to what I mentioned in the last episode. I never, at least for myself, I don't have to worry about, or I don't think about that feeling of I'm not Latina enough, because Latina is different for everyone. There's different variations of us, skin tone wise, hair tone wise, geographical location, genetic makeup for those of us that have Latino, genetics from different countries and different makeups. It makes none of us any less Latino than the other. Even if you're a Latino descendant of American-born parents, but your grandparents are Hispanic and your parents are the ones that are fully born American here, you're still Hispanic. It's still within your genes and your makeup. You are no less Hispanic than any other person.
Yeah.
And Hispanic or Latin identity is what you make it. So I guess what I would say to prompt our listeners in terms of how to handle imposter syndrome and the different ways it pops up would be try to focus on shifting the narrative from finding worth in what you do in life and how it presents in different aspects, and more so finding your worth in who you are and how you identify yourself and what makes you feel good and like what your person is. And I really want to encourage everybody that hears this, and this is for Christy and myself too. Remember to cut yourself some slack.
Yes.
Have compassion for yourself. I mean, we're our biggest critics and our biggest enemies a lot of the times. And that's because of what's fed to us from that perspective of being perfect or in any way, shape, or form. Give yourself compassion. Especially if you're in a down moment, give yourself the grace to feel whatever feelings you're feeling. Take them in and then move through them and realize that they don't define your entire person.
And also you can do whatever a white man can do better and bleeding if you're a woman. I when you mentioned the checklist thing, that made me think of the fact that I don't know what the statistics are, but there are studies that men will usually, the majority of the time when they're applying to jobs, they'll apply to a job easily if they only match like 50% of the requirements. Women would never. Don't do that. If we only match 80%, we're like, no, I'm not qualified.
I'm not that qualified yet.
I don't, that specific bullet point, I don't know enough about that. I would be a fraud. Like, girl, you can do it. I promise you. There is a mediocre male doing it crappily somewhere else. Like, you can do it, and you can do it amazing, and you can do it bleeding and pregnant and with kids or without kids or single and fabulous. Like, don't beat yourself up. And I am talking out of the side of my mouth when I say that, because I am so mean to myself. But you can do it. Believe in yourself a little bit. a little bit more, like just a little bit more. And that's all the advice I can give, because I feel like I'm a fraud if I start saying advice and shit, because I don't follow it. So just,
I
be
don't think
nice.
that's true. I don't think that's true. You're here.
True.
So I don't think that's true at all. Yeah,
True.
listen, us doing this podcast is a challenge to every single instance in our history where we have cowered away from
Oh, I like that.
doing something that's difficult and scary. So I disagree with you, and I think you giving that advice is perfect, and I think it's fair because
Okay.
you're showing up here and you're doing the work here every day, just like I am.
Thank
So
you.
I'm gonna push you in that sense.
Okay.
But
Fine.
with that, I think that's a good place for us to end today. Uh, thank you all again for joining us for yet another episode. We hope you liked it. We hope you were entertained. If you've enjoyed the episode, like always, please remember to like, share, comment, follow us on all your favorite platforms, especially on Instagram at My Brain Está Spicy. Feel free to interact with us there and check out our posts. And if you've got any feedback you'd like to give us, or if you'd like to send us an email to give us suggestions or just give us some love, you can reach us at thespicybrainpod@gmail.com. We'll drop the links to the different articles that we mentioned today in our show notes, as well as, some of our favorite products that we've talked about in the past, which, by the way, Christy is wearing her very groovy migraine glasses.
They're wonderful. I highly
From,
recommend.
what's the name of the company again?
I don't know how to say
Avulux?
Avulux. And it's not just a migraine, because I don't suffer from regular migraine. I have vestibular migraines with like my hormonal whatever's fluctuations.
Imbalance, yeah.
So if you have like light sensitivity, they are an investment. But I can tell you, like, just wearing them in the office, I feel so much better. Like, I feel less overwhelmed, and that is priceless. So maybe it's a placebo, maybe it's not. It's worth it for me. So that's my little advertisement.
And for the record, we are not sponsored by Avulux, but if by chance someone listens to us and, at Avulux and would like to sponsor us, because Christy always wears your stunning sunglasses, please let us know. But anyways, thank you guys again. We appreciate you. We will see you next time. And until then, may your brains be just a little bit less spicy.
And your tummies too.
Hey there. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate you hanging out with us on this mental health ride. If you've enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, follow, comment, and share My Brain Está Spicy with your fellow overthinkers, because the more the merrier in this Spicy Brain Club. If you're curious about any of the hacks or products we've mentioned, check out the show notes for links. We're not sponsored by any of these, though feel free to call us. We just love them so much and think you might too. Catch you next time, and until then, may your brain be just a little bit less spicy.